Well, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Nada St. Germain, and I have some pretty kind of, I don't know, the information tonight might be a little overwhelming for some, but I found it very important and very powerful because, the big question sometimes that we get from people is, well, do I really need to supplement? Can I get everything from my food? And I know about 30, 40 years ago, a lot of, people believe that they truly could get everything from their food. And we used to say, well, you could if you were to eat this, and this, and this. Well, now they're saying you can't, no matter what, no matter how you try, no matter what you eat, no matter where you buy your food, it's hard to get everything you need to have optimal health. And this is why, when you're looking for supplements and looking at putting something into your body, you want to make sure that it's a company that's reputable and that there's solid science to support and back up their products. So I'm really excited to share this with you because when I was introduced to Neolife over 30 years ago, I was a little nervous to take supplements, but I knew I had to try something because my mom wasn't well and I was struggling with my health. And, I was working as a police officer in Toronto and just really stressed and tired and hormonal issues and fatigue, and my mom with her joint pain. And when someone shared the Neolife difference and why these would make a difference in our health, it made sense. Gave the products a try, and boy, am I ever grateful that we said yes. I really would like to say that we're aging gracefully. I'm physically active in my late 50s, and I feel younger now than I did when I was in my 20s and 30s. So that's what good nutrition and good supplements will do for you. Okay. So a little bit of a background. We're going to talk a little bit about, how important it is to have products or supplements that are literally from the farm to the table nutrition, and focus on cellular energy, making sure the nutrients get into the cell. And that's the biggest Neolife difference, because the products work because they get to where they need to get to. The nutrients get to where they need to get to. Okay, and that's really important. But let's talk about some of the challenges that we're having. Hang on a second here, my slide's not, here we go. This is from the Environmental Health Symposium. And I really learned a lot from this presentation. So I'm hoping that this will be a bit of an eye-opener for you. So this is from Alan Lewis.
It's to market and sell.
Oh,
so we have the natural grocers, which I know many of you are familiar with. I'm really happy to be at the Environmental Health Symposium today, even if it's by video. I've been following Cheryl and Lynn's work now for, I think, 10 years and have gone to most of the conferences, but this year it just turned out to be too complicated, as you know. However, I learned also, don't tell Cheryl no, and so I'm not. She really wanted me to present something simple today and memorable and actionable about synthetic biology, also known as gene-edited fermentation, precision fermentation, and any number of other euphemisms for some very highly processed, very highly suspect foods that are entering the market surreptitiously. Part of the challenge here is Cheryl gave me 10 minutes, hoping I would wrap up in 30. But in the interest of getting along with the day, we're going to focus just what's on the screen here. 3 different parts of synthetic biology fermentation. And then within the ferments, 3 different approaches to those, and why 2 of them in particular should be so concerning to environmental health professionals. Feed, ferments, and waste. 1, 2, 3. Feed, ferments, and waste. Because you never hear the companies and the founders and the PR professionals who are promoting synthetic biology actually talk about the source of their feed. And you never, ever, ever hear them talk about what happens to the waste that's left over after their fermentation is done. So let's get those 2 out of the way, and then we'll focus on 2 ferments in a second. But where does this feed come from? Well, basically it's sugars and proteins. It comes from the cheapest possible industrial source of soy and corn for the most part, and some sugar beet as well. And that's the main parts of the ferment. There are potentially hundreds of other things that are put into the ferments as part of the feed to generate the response that the company is looking for and generating the target metabolite that it wants to market and sell. So we have back to the GMO problem, monoculture, proprietary GMO seeds, corn and soy sugars as the basis of these foods, and a massive shift in ownership and concentration of wealth, land ownership, and control over our food supply because of the GMO system. And since it's EHS, we've got to talk about glyphosate, herbicides, neonics, synthetic fertilizers from fossil fuels, and all of those pesticide residues and adjuvant residues, as Dr. Seralini would remind us, that end up in the soil, on the crops, and in the resulting food, and in this case, the feed. The new applications of synthetic biology in agriculture are just astounding. One of them is the RNAi gene expression, where they're spraying novel genetic materials on the plants to trigger different expressions of their natural genome, or in the case of GMO seeds, triggering expression of synthetic mutated genomes in the actual leaves and stalks and roots of the plant. This is an astounding set of practices that are already underway. And of course, when you mess with the soil, you're releasing carbon, you're collapsing soil health, and reducing the nutrition in those foods to begin with. On the far end of this, they put all of that stuff into these bioreactors, run it at 87 to 90 degrees for 24 to who knows how many hundreds of hours. And the target organisms and the ferments then consume everything that they want out of the steep, and what's left over is biowaste. Biowaste. Well, what's in that biowaste? There's three parts of this. Of course, if you're fermenting sourdough or beer or spirits or something, what's left over is distiller's grain, spent grain, or a yeast residue or something, and these are typically natural organisms. They're consumable by animals, they can be composted, and they're not considered a biohazard because they're part of the natural system and have been part of the food system for thousands of years. However, when you get into full synthetic biology, precision fermentation waste, it's a whole nother ballgame. What you have is a whole set of gene-edited microorganisms. You possibly have antibiotics to reduce the growth of things you don't want, and then you have antibiotic resistance gene-edited into your target organisms so that they are not killed off by the antibiotics. And these are novel living organisms that have never been on Earth before. So all of this takes place in a biohazard laboratory setting with secure access and registrations and personal protective equipment, and it all has to be incinerated after use. And there's a very high amount of mass in this waste because the organisms are consuming the sugars and other things in the steeps, and they're producing a target protein or a target flavor or a target color out of that, which is then removed. But I've heard that upwards of 90% of what goes into the bioreactor actually becomes waste that has to be securely disposed of. And it can't go to the landfill. It has to be deactivated. And there's zero significant regulation about this in terms of the food supply. And lastly, in the biowaste section, when you read the SEC disclosures from the few companies that are making public disclosures, the potential for unintended or intentional release and misuse of all of these gene-edited microorganisms, or the release intentionally or otherwise of the waste into the environment, They state publicly that this could create foodborne illness outbreaks for pathogens and allergens and other food ingredients that have never been on the earth before. We don't know how to identify them. We don't know what they are. Um, and so this creates a huge liability for the company that's trying to cover its butt by making these official disclosures. Now, let's get into these ferments in particular. And to be fair and science-based, there are three kinds. That first green at the brie box at the top, as we discussed, is in fact very long-term, accepted, safe, traditional methods of fermenting foods or herbs or other materials to get specific therapeutic or nutritional metabolites. This is not what we're concerned about. Our concern is that long-standing acceptance and necessity of natural fermentation has been used to hide the synthetic biology under a lot of different other terms, including plant-based. So skipping down to B, most of these pathogens, most of these ferments are based on E. coli. And they're gene editing the E. coli to generate a particular result from the digestive process, likely manipulating it so it's antibiotic resistance, because when you put living organisms into 1,000 gallons of sugar, everything wants to grow. So you have to dampen certain microorganism growth and not others. And we don't know about all the off-target or non-target metabolites. Just because you gene edit a pathogen to get out a specific protein or color or flavor, the way, say, Impossible Foods doesn't mean that novel gene-edited, mutated living organism isn't spitting out a whole number, hundreds if not thousands of other materials and substances that are not known, don't have a reference table, and we don't know about their food safety or environmental safety profile. Lastly, and this is the worst on ferments, is C. And that's where we're taking animal cell lines, typically stem cell lines, and very much focused on beef, but also chicken and pork and some other proteins, and gene editing those so that they will survive in the fermentation tank, which I'll show you a picture of in a second. They're doing lots of stuff to that to make it grow fast in order to get the production quantities up, in order to get the price down. And this is just a very high level criticism, but they're removing the growth regulation genes in these animal cell lines, and they're editing those cell lines so that they grow exponentially in the presence of sugar. In other words, they're creating or recreating tumor behavior because a cancerous tumor does what? It stops self-regulating and it feeds on sugar. As much as you give it, it'll keep growing. Lastly, from a political point of view, all of these things that we don't necessarily agree with are being sold as plant-based. And C there, the cell lines are being sold as animal-free. And so you run into vegans who want plant-based, not realizing that they're eating gene-edited virulent pathogens or gene-edited tumor cells, essentially. And that's a very difficult conversation to have with them. So this is the plant where plant-based foods are made. And if you are a fan of plant-based foods like I am, you should be furious with the synthetic biology, precision fermentation people taking over the idea of foods made from plants and replacing it or hiding underneath plant-based foods all of these suspect, highly processed foods that are grown in facilities that have nothing to do with agriculture. Cheryl, thanks for having me today, and I hope everyone enjoyed this short presentation. Please check out the handouts, and feel free to reach out, and I'll give you a lot more of the peer-reviewed studies and patents and public filings that this is based on. Have a good day.
So I know it could sound very overwhelming and kind of frightening, but we have to understand that, you know, all of this plant-based and food that's not really food, it's man-made, it's manipulated, it's genetically modified. What I get from this is we still need to fill those nutritional gaps in our diet. And that's why I'm so grateful that we have this whole food, right, company that's giving us the good nutrition to give us the nutrients that we need. And I'm just saying that, you know, sometimes when you look at some of the foods that are out there, that isn't real food, right? We got to go back to real food. And it's sometimes hard to find some of the good things that we used to have, you know, 60, 70 years ago. And some of you know the study that came out recently, and they are talking about how it's what we aren't eating also that's actually killing us. And this was a global study that was done in over 190 countries. And, you know, the lack of whole grains, fruits and nuts, seeds are the top of the list of dietary risks that link to death in the most 5 populous countries. So these are the things that we need to be consuming more of, or the nutrients that come from these foods are what we need every single day, and we need more of them. And we know the challenge today is that whole grain, the whole grain philosophy. You know, our grains are no longer whole. They are genetically modified. It's difficult to get those essential lipids. They used to grind the wheat to make the flour, make the bread. It's not happening anymore. Everything is milled and processed, and the essential lipids are gone. And that's why they call them essential fatty acids. They are critical. We need to get them in our diet, and they're not there. And John Miller, who is part of our product team, the technologist researcher, part of our scientific advisory board, you know, his whole philosophy, and we're so grateful to have this team of scientists and doctors that put together solid science so you can be comfortable and reassured that you are consuming products that are safe for you to consume and to share with your family and friends. So I'm just going to play a very short video where he shares a bit of the philosophy behind the Neolife products as well. I always love listening to John, the Neolife difference. A second here.
Sure. How are you this morning? Ever since I heard that this was going to be the topic was going to be a Neolife difference, I was really looking forward to this call, because certainly that is one of my favorite subjects, and it's also one of the easiest things to talk about. There are so many Neolife differences. As a matter of fact, that's sort of going to be my focal point today, is that there are so many Neolife differences. Everywhere you look, there are Neolife differences. And I'm just going to walk you through a few that stand out to me. Things like history and philosophy and science and amazing products and the technology behind the products and our reputation in the industry and all of those things. So I'm going to just focus on those and walk you through from my perspective. First, from history, just talking about history, you know, we are about to finish our 65th year in business. We started in 1958, and you know, we're just about to finish our 64th, excuse me. And the reality is that in itself is a big difference. When you look around the world, companies don't last that long, at least not unless they're really good companies. Matter of fact, if you listen to Forbes and other folks like that, about 90% of companies fail within the first decade of their existence, let alone the 6.5 decades that we've been doing that. Also, I think a lot of that has to do with product philosophy. You know, from day one, we were focused on this idea of replacing critical nutrients that were lost in the diet, but doing it from a whole food nutritional perspective. That's when the company started with this idea of tree and grain concentrates and reintroducing critical lipids and sterols that had been stripped from the diet, and then looking at how they impacted cells and how cells work. Very, very powerful stuff. But that was in 1958. Today, that still represents the leading edge of science, understanding how lipids and sterols, or dietary components in general, affect cellular function, cell membrane structure, and the function of cells is still leading edge stuff. So here we are, 65 years later, and we're still at the forefront with ideas of the foundation of the company. Next is the science. Neolife has been based on science from day one, too. That reference I made to lipids and sterols just a moment ago was based on scientific studies that were investigating the effects of these lipids and sterols, whole grain lipids and sterols in particular, on cell membranes and how those cell membranes worked. So that was the foundation of the company, with this whole idea that we could influence health by influencing the health of our cells. Again, that was in 1958. Since then, the company has been dedicated to science throughout the 1960s and into the 70s. They focused strongly on the development of scientific knowledge. In the mid-1970s, a world-renowned cancer researcher and toxicologist, Dr. Arthur First, joined the company and really set the stage for a sort of a scientific protocol and practice that dominated the industry then and still sets the standard for our industry yet today. That was because Dr. First, who had spent his good part of his life studying how to treat diseases like cancer in particular, had made the decision that he wanted to work on the idea of prevention, which brought him to Neolife. And since then, his dedication to science and the protocols he established have led the company from a product development and introduction point of view. Now, out of that work, out of that science, or out of Dr. First joining and becoming the center of the science, was the formation of the Scientific Advisory Board. And from that point forward, things really began to change for us. For example, the Scientific Advisory Board developed some powerful and unique products, not just products that you can talk about saying that they were powerful and unique, but products that were based on world-class research, literally done in research laboratories around the world. Powerful products that were backed up by human clinical trials. Again, not just any kind of scientific evidence, but human clinical trials that generated evidence that showed the benefits of those products. And that evidence was presented in scientific events all over the world and published in peer-reviewed journals like the Journal of the American College of Nutrition, or Free Radical Biology and Medicine, or the any of the other many journals. Powerful products. And what that means, a big Neolife difference, is what we say about our products is fact. When you get your scientific data published in peer-reviewed journals, that means that the scientific community generally accepts that as being a fact. So unlike a lot of other companies, we have a lot of very strong facts done on our products by ourselves, the Scientific Advisory Board, as well as with third-party organizations such as researchers from the United States Department of Agriculture and universities and technology centers around the world. Speaking of technology, though, you don't get to have great products like that without having world-class technology. And certainly, again, here's a big Neolife difference. Very early on, we were the pioneers of the idea of protein supplementation and turning these protein powders into something that was not only nutritious for you, but delicious. We developed technologies called protein instantizing that went on later to become our ProtiGuard process that delivers proteins, complete proteins, and all the amino acids they contain in a delicious, very highly bioavailable form. Other things that we developed along the way that are still at the forefront of science, or the forefront of technology, were our mineral chelation, targeted delivery technology that actually lets us deliver nutrients right into certain sections of your gastrointestinal tract, molecular differentiation technologies that allowed us to produce the first, and as far as we know, only whole food omega-3 fatty acid supplement that provides all 8 omega-3 fatty acids found in human nutrition. And another great example of our technology is our glycemic response control. Glycemic response control, we started researching that in the 1990s and brought it to market around 2000 in our glycemic response control technology products. At that time, this was sort of very much in the forefront, actually very much in the future of science. today we find a lot of companies making reference to the fact that they have got some semblance of glycemic response or glycemic control as a foundation of their product line, but they're about 20 years late for that discovery. And then I'd like to talk about the Neolife difference of quality without compromise. You know, it's easy for people to say that they have very high quality products, and they can get lots of different ways to approach that. But consider this, okay? Neolife products meet the requirements of every major regulatory authority in the world for purity, potency, consistency, and safety. Think about that. We do business in more than 50 countries, and we meet all of the regulatory requirements of the most strictest of those: Japan or Australia, the US, Europe, Africa, wherever it might be. Whatever their requirements are for quality control, our requirements for ourselves already surpass those. We have no trouble doing business in those countries, meeting those regulations, because our own requirements on ourselves are even stronger than those that they would apply to us. That's what we call quality without compromise. We go the extra mile. We do quality control testing and procedures that other people wouldn't even think of. We do hundreds of thousands of these sorts of protocols and tests every year, assuring our product quality is beyond repute. And speaking of repute, our reputation is just for that. We have a reputation in the industry for being the company that makes the greatest products in the industry. We have a reputation in academia, in the colleges and universities and research centers, as being the company that does great human clinical research. We have a reputation with the regulators, meaning the authorities that oversee the marketplace, as being a company that is committed to doing things right and having quality without compromise. But most of all, I think we have a reputation for benefits. Our products provide benefits. We wouldn't be in business this long if our products didn't work. It's plain and simple. You know, in the end, you can have all of the fancy stuff you want, but if you're not providing benefits to people, you're not going to last very long. And I'm happy to say that Neolife has benefited people, hundreds and hundreds of thousands all over the world, with our products and the technology behind them and the science that supports them. So that's just a few of the Neolife differences. I could go on for a very long time, Jennifer, but I think that considering this is supposed to be a relatively quick call, I think I'll just end it there and say Neolife differences are everywhere in Neolife. Everywhere you look in Neolife, you will find a difference. Thanks very much.
And we all see that time and time again. And many of us have met John Miller and met some of the scientific advisory board, and so grateful and blessed that we have such an incredible team of scientists that are behind these incredible products. And for those of you that are going to join our Wellness Live, I really hope you take the 2.5 hours out of your Saturday on January the 28th, because you're going to hear from John Miller, Dr. Todd Miller, Dr. Susan Beck, and Dr. Liz Applegate. And they're all going to give presentations in different areas of health. John is going to be talking about metabolism and health goals. Todd Miller is going to be transformational weight loss. Dr. Susan Beck about energy, stamina, fitness, and circulation. And Dr. Liz Applegate, the 5 proven hacks for incredible health. So again, you're going to hear from these guys on this day to have these 4 amazing people speak, and you're going to have a better understanding on, again, the Neolife difference and the power that these products can have on your health. And, you know, when you look at your cells and feeding your cells and energy for your cells, well, TRANN was the foundation. And John Miller shared that with you. We talked about the oils and not having enough of these grain oils in our diet because of the milling and the processing. Well, TRANN has been around for 65 years, guys. And these are the essential lipids that are derived from those whole grains to get your unhealthy cells back to healthy cells so that nutrients can go in and waste can go out. This is one of the biggest Neolife differences, and nobody has this even today. And it was proven, as John Miller said, with the third-party studies, the publications from Texas A&M University, to help your cells absorb the nutrients by 50% more. So again, you get more utilization, nutrient utilization from the foods that you are eating. So Tran since 1958 are the oils from those grains that are not genetically modified, your whole wheat, your brown rice, and your soy, to make sure you're getting these essential lipids and sterols into your body to give you the best nutritional support. And when you look at what's happening around the world, right, chronic disease is higher than ever before. It's an epidemic. When you're looking at heart disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, chronic respiratory diseases, they're all on the rise. You've got to look at getting your cells healthy, getting the nutrients back into your diet. And chronic disease is the leading causes of death and disability in the United States and Canada. Okay, so again, heart disease, stroke, cancer, type 2 diabetes, obesity, arthritis are among the most common, costly, and preventable of all health problems. Okay, so we got to look at what we're doing, and it's time. We can end the trend to these chronic diseases by sharing this information with people that you know. The good news. Let's talk about some good news. I know we talked a lot about, you know, what's almost hard to do with our food, but let me tell you, it's clear you can prevent these diseases and promote good health. You can manage your weight, you know, have better physical activity, you know, a diet rich in whole grains, fruits and vegetables and fish. How? Making better food choices, but also supplementing to fill those gaps that are missing in your diet. Well, it sounds easy, right? Just eat better, eat more fruits and vegetables, eat whole grain, eat more fatty fish, right? Oh my gosh, how much you need to eat in a day? Like, you really there's got to be a reality check. Are you doing 5 to 7 servings of whole grain, 5 to 13 servings of those dark colored fruits and vegetables, and 3 servings of rich fish every single day? That's the challenge, right? And when you're looking at fruits and vegetables, we are falling short. We're failing to get the minimums, you know, even the minimum of 5. You know, when you're looking at kids 2 to 6 years old, they should be eating around 5. Older kids and teens, active women should be eating around 7 servings. Teen boys and active men should be eating about 9 servings. And 13 plus is optimal, okay? But the average intakes right now are about 2.7. And for adolescents, only 2.3 servings a day. So it's not, doesn't even get anywhere close to the 5 minimum of servings of dark colored fruits and vegetables every day. And when you're looking at fish, again, you know, you're looking at least 2 servings that we're needing per week minimum, you know, to prevent heart disease, at least 1 gram daily, high cholesterol, 1 to 2 grams daily. We're not getting anywhere near that, less than 1 serving per week. And omega-3 deficiency, the 6th biggest killer of Americans, because of all the health challenges with cardiovascular disease and arthritis. And so you really need to look at, you know, the deficiencies and the guidelines. And even mothers, new moms fail to meet the omega-3 guidelines. And that's so important for a healthy baby. Okay, so you really got to look at what's going on around the world. And I mean, the problem is obvious. You know, our food choices aren't always the greatest, sometimes too much of the bad stuff, not enough of the good stuff. And that's where this Pro Vitality Pack is a great solution to fill those gaps. That gives you the grain oils, a bit of the fruits and vegetables, the omega-3s, and a great multivitamin, all in this convenient pack. And, you know, it's really the science behind it, behind these products, behind Neolife. And you heard from John Miller, and these scientists and doctors, they work together as a team to develop and produce these incredible whole food supplements. And again, the rich heritage since 1958, this is why we're different. You know, that grain oil, Tran, this is what it looked like back 65 years ago. These oils from grain were in this little dark bottle and it impacted so many lives. But what's really cool, the bottle may have changed, but the formula has not changed 65 years later. That's pretty cool. So the solution to that whole grain gap, Tran, essential lipids, less gluten than a bowl of gluten-free cereal, developed for a hospital research study, and it promotes cellular energy and efficiency. You feel the difference, you notice the difference. Give it 3 to 6 months, and boy, let me tell you, it'll really impact your life. Then your immunity. The fruits and vegetables, right? Who's eating up to 13 servings a day every single day? It's a challenge. One of these in this Pro Vitality, just one capsule of carotenoid complex, is equivalent to consuming 80 pounds of raw fruits and vegetables in every box. And it's made from tomatoes and carrots and peaches and apricots and spinach. So you're getting all those dark colors all in this convenient box. Clinically proven to boost your immune system 37% in just 20 days. And it protects your heart as well. Omega-3. So important for heart, your brain, your joints, eye health, brain development, fetal development. And our omega-3 is screened for over 200 possible contaminants. Sorry, I got a tickle. And the allowable detection is 0. They allow 0 toxins, 0 mercury, 0 lead, absolutely none. Clinically proven in 8 weeks to reduce inflammation 68% in just 8 weeks. This is a product that really helped me, my mom, with her aches and pains, with her fibromyalgia. We've had amazing testimonials on headaches, joint pain. So important to reduce inflammation in the body, because many diseases, the root cause is inflammation. So you got to make sure you're reducing that inflammatory index. And it's hard to get clean fish. Then there's a multivitamin. But multivitamin mineral supplement, again, with 21 vitamins and minerals. It has a little bit of iron, and that's really important. Also, it has those phytoenzymes, and that helps with the digestion process, so you can digest properly, utilize the nutrients better for absorption as well. And that's really important when you're looking at a multivitamin. So you're looking at this powerful pack, 12 pounds of whole grains, 80 pounds of raw fruits and vegetables, 10 servings of omega-3 fatty fish in every single box. I don't know, this is such a powerhouse. I really like, this is why I like to call it a Cadillac of multis. Then when you add the Neolife Shake, which is protein. Now, protein isn't just for weight loss. It does help with reducing your body fat and your BMI. It's great for cardiovascular system. But protein is, it does help to repair tissue, repair cells, repair muscle, but it's also the building blocks to your immune system. So when you add this amazing protein shake to that Vitality Pack, boy, that is a powerhouse. This is what I've been taking for 33 years. My kids have, and it's really impacted our lives when it comes to immunity. Okay, and this is what we're really to look at, because most breakfasts consume a lot of carbohydrates and sugars or nothing. This is just a great way to start your morning. I have it twice a day. If you're looking for weight loss, just a fabulous product to add to your regime. Now let's look a little bit more about the Neolife difference and ingredient control, because John Miller touched upon it a little bit, and the whole philosophy is from the farm to the table. Okay, this is the whole food philosophy. And Laura May was going to join us tonight and share her testimonial, because she was invited to come to the labs because of the timing. We're not allowed to go there anymore. The public's not allowed. But she met John Miller at an event and teased him a little bit. And he said, well, if you're ever in the Bay Area, I promise you to take a tour of the lab. So she was in the Bay Area. She was away at school for a year, and she called John Miller, okay, at the Neolife office and said, hey, I'm here studying at in Oakland, and you said that I could have a tour of the lab. Well, John Miller felt so bad because he never goes back on his word, okay? He promised her he would take her on a tour of the lab, and he did. Incredible. She said he was honored to take her on a tour. He took her to the testing rooms, the top secret new product rooms where, no one's allowed in there. The pharmaceutical grade, this is where all the pharmaceutical grade products are done. She said that the integrity of this facility was exceptional. And I have to say that when I went to leadership school, I don't know how many years ago this was, probably 25 years ago, when we were allowed to have a tour of the facility, I was able to see this as well, and the mechanical stomach and how the products go through the stomach to show you where the nutrients are open, unlocked, and absorbed. And it really is incredible, the science behind these products. So truly products you can trust. Everything that goes into every Neolife product must meet our stringent quality requirements. Every supplier, every ingredient, qualified and requalified. So they do not take the word of the supplier. Okay, they retest continually. The best farm fields, carefully selected farm fields, produce the highest quality ingredients, superior nutrient content. Again, we talked about the non-GMO, the purest extractions and concentrates, state-of-the-art processing technologies and equipment guarantee the purest extractions and concentrates. And I remember talking to Dr. Arthur First. He said one thing our founders always told the scientific advisory board, that they didn't have a budget. That was one area. They said if you needed improvement in any technology, any machinery, it would be approved to keep up with the science and technology to make the purest products possible. And again, that is one of the greatest Neolife differences. Re-verifications and confirmations. All ingredients are then quarantined until lab tests confirm their purity and potency. Again, do not take the word of the supplier. State-of-the-art equipment for maximum efficiency and consistency. Ongoing inspections, again, really, really powerful. And for tracking, they can track from the source to your table. So they have tracking batch coding system where on the carotenoid label, they can track when that carrot, tomato, peach, pepper, when it was planted, when it was processed, when it was picked and extracted. They can take it right back to the original seed stock. And that's pretty awesome. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, what about salmon? And you know how they're saying that all of our salmon now is genetically modified. You know, it's hard to get fine, clean fish anymore. And it's true. It's a challenge. There's been a lot of stress for over 20 years now. When I talked to John Miller about this, he said human consumption is the biggest factor, being that stress. As the human population continues to grow, that pressure on that species will persist. And the spread of agricultural and industrial technology has made it more and more difficult to find pristine waters. And that's one of the challenges, especially with continual runoff. Literally what's washed off our continent land masses and into the sea is becoming harder and harder to avoid. Okay, and Neolife has foreseen this. They knew that this was going to happen. They knew that they had to do something to control this. Okay, and it's hard. And even when you're looking at farmed fish in Canada and the US, they use tanks as small as 70,000 gallons, which is about 2 to 3 family swimming pools. So you don't want to be eating fish that's farmed in that size of a pool. Okay. So we only accept non-GMO salmon to get our salmon oil. We do not allow any pond-grown salmon or GMO otherwise. All of our salmon come from pristine deep water fjords in Norway, so northern Norway, and they're enclosed as a matter of protection. So this is done so that non-natural, non-specific species do not infiltrate the natural salmon population in the fjord. And this also ensures that the quality and clarity of the waters in which the fish live with open, natural tidal inflow and outflow. So they're like living in the ocean, but they're protected, which is incredible. The science behind this technology and the cost to have this in place, companies just can't do it. They just don't have the funds. And that's the beauty of Neolife being a debt-free company and having a founder that believes in quality and purity. So even with all that, with our suppliers, check, they actually do a test every single time, free of industrial chemicals or heavy metals. They constantly test all the raw materials, even when they know where this fish is coming from. Okay, really, really powerful and really important. And once the fish are harvested, they go into tightly controlled oil extraction process. The extracted oil is immediately blanketed with nitrogen to prevent oxidation, because oxidation will turn oils or fats rancid, protecting that oil from exposure to expose the oxygen, and persists at every step from harvest to encapsulation. Once extracted, the oil's fatty acids profile is tested to confirm that all 8 omega-3 fatty acids are present. When I talked to John Miller about this, he's like, Nada, when we talk to scientists from other companies, they don't even want to talk to us because this technology, they can't do it. They don't even understand how Neolife is capable to do this. This is why it's so safe to consume these products and safe to recommend to your children. And this is why we're so proud of the Neolife difference. At every step in manufacturing process, we check and double check and triple check with the very tight control system of quarantine and release or reject protocols. We're very proud of this system put in place from Neolife. Okay, so again, world-class quality. Neolife meets and exceed the quality standards for purity, potency, consistency of every major regulatory authority in the world. Okay, this is powerful. This is why we can build an international business and be so proud that this is happening all over the world. So again, based in nature, backed by science. You know, if you're looking at, you know, sharing this, how to get a hold of these incredible products, it's free to become a club member. You automatically get a 10% discount to 20% off retail in starting in January. December, we have our final 25% discount if you do join in December. If you stay on NeoShip, you get the 20% discount, which is pretty awesome. And you can get all your shipping back. If you refer 3 people, you can get your health packs free. We have fitness challenges, weight loss challenges. We're launching a Proven 33 program. If you're looking at improving your weight or fitness level within a 33-day window, we have an incredible new system coming into place in the new year. And these are the health solutions. Vitality Pack, Pro Vitality, just a great multivitamin if you're looking at just filling the gap. If you add the protein shake once a day, it's called the breakfast solution. Most people don't eat a healthy lunch, or they're looking at, you know, shrinking a little bit more. Then do the weight loss solution or the Shape Up Pack, which is fantastic to reduce body fat. And there's a vegan option as well for those of you that are looking for a plant-based option. And if you're looking for stories and amazing testimonials, I mean, this is a group on Facebook. It's a group we can invite you to called Neolife Healthy Living Community. We have over 10,000 members in this group now, where people share amazing stories. We can add you to this group and you can read some of these incredible life-changing stories that are in this group. And there's one more option for those of you that are looking at the possibility of generating income, whether it be part-time, full-time, $500 to $1,000 a month or greater. I was not looking for a business opportunity 33 years ago. I was just looking at improving my health and helping my family. And when I saw the impact that these products made in my life, I realized I wanted more out of life. I wanted time freedom, flexibility, work from home. I wanted to be at the gym every day, not, you know, working 10-hour days and quarter my days off. I just wanted more time freedom. I wanted my time to be me. I wanted to control that time. When I saw this opportunity as a business, I thought, wow, if these products can impact people's lives, maybe one day I can be in this full time. And I was able to do that. So if you're looking for a life-changing career, incredible opportunity. Looking for just a little extra cash on the side, fantastic opportunity. So just ask the person invited you and we can share how you can do this. If you just want to try the products, get healthy, have more energy, lose weight, you know, reduce inflammation in your body, give the products a try. If you're curious about the business, just ask us. If you want to learn more, every Thursday we do a specific talk. Today we dove in a little deeper on the Neolife difference, but every Thursday we do focus on different health topics. So I do want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I will be stopping the recording and opening up to any questions that you may have. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that I was able to get the Neolife difference across. And I know there was a lot of information, but it is a pretty powerful topic. And again, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight.